Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our Untangle 101 webinar, Introduction to Command Center. My name is Steve Young, and I'm with the marketing team here at Untangle. Today we have John Coffin, who is our Director of QA, and he's going to be running you through Command Center, which is Untangle's centralized cloud management system. I know that's a very exciting topic. Just a few housekeeping rules before we get started. If you have any audio issues, please use the audio panel to select your preferences and configure your audio options. If you select to use a phone, you're going to need to dial in and use the access code provided. Just as a reminder, this webinar is being recorded, so you will have the option to rewatch or revisit areas that you will need to follow up on. We will be answering questions throughout the presentation, so please submit any questions through the Q&A box. We've got staff standing by. You can always send questions to sales@untangle.com as well if you have anything that you would like to follow up on after the webinar. Stick around to the end of our webinar because we're giving away a $50 Amazon gift card at the end of the webinar, and one lucky name will be drawn, and we'll be sending you that gift card through email. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to John Coffin.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. Definitely, Command Center is a pretty large area, so we're going to go fairly light over several areas because there's a lot to cover. This webinar is also rebroadcast on YouTube for your viewing later, or if you want to review different areas of it. So with that, we'll go over it. So what is Command Center? Command Center is really a centralized point of management if you have multiple, well, even if you have one firewall, but generally it's used if you have multiple firewalls. And it's kind of like a one-all encompassing management system. You can manage your firewalls out there, you can manage your accounts, you can manage your subscriptions. You can also look at some of the details inside all of the untangles put together, kind of an aggregate of all your data. Again, you can manage your business relationship with Tangle, which is, how you want billed, how your subscriptions are going, when to renew it, things like that. There's also cloud-based services. For example, if you have Malbytes antivirus, you can use it to scan your endpoints through the Untangle Command Center. Part of Command Center to use that, to use the advanced features like reporting and remote policy areas, you're going to need the NG Firewall complete package to use that on the device and so forth. Some of the benefits, it's super easy to just log into one area and manage all your sites. I, for myself, manage 8 websites, so the Command Center is a really godsend for me because I'm able to just go to one place, click on whichever I need to do. Besides being able to connect to each individual Untangle, it also gives me the ability to pass off my policies for filtering traffic in one location. So I can create a template by using one Untangle as the master template of my policies, and then push that out to all my other Untangles out there. It makes it really easy to keep everything in sync. I'm not worried about, which one did I update last. It keeps everything in sync. For those that are even using hot swappable Untangles, for example, you have a location that may have 2 or more Untangles that are inline parallel with something called VRRP, and you need to keep those synchronized because at any point, if one fails, it could switch over to the other one, and you want to have the same policies as you've been keeping up on those. And you can use Command Center to keep those settings synchronized between the multiple Untangles that you're using for a hot swappable device. Like we mentioned again, you can use Malwarebytes endpoint protection within Command Center, so you can scan that. You can also set up alerts specifically. One of the biggest problems before was Untangle firewall itself could detect if it went offline, but if it only had one WAN, it couldn't send you a message, hey, I'm offline. So with Command Center, that enables you to do that. So it can detect if one of the Untangles is offline because it's no longer communicating with Command Center and send you alerts, say, hey, it's disconnected from Command Center, most likely it's out, and you can look into it to see what's going on. This is definitely, and then one of the newest features is that we have something called zero-touch provisioning. You can buy an appliance from Untangle, and then with that serial number, you're able to set up a configuration on it before it even reaches your client. So it's mailed to the client, they plug it in. As soon as it reaches Command Center, you're able to configure that exactly as you need it. So it really makes it nice, so you can kind of have a hands-off provisioning of that. Let's go down to some of the nitty-gritty here. So one of the biggest uses that you're going to use for Command Center is just accessing the firewalls themselves, and you're able to look at it. So let's take a quick look. For those that don't know how to Command Center, just go to the Untangle page, click in sign in. I'm already logged in, so I don't get a prompt for my password. So I'll just go ahead and log in, and I can see all my boxes here. So in this case, I have 8 boxes connected to my Command Center account, which is this one right here. I can see 2 of mine are offline, and so I probably want to investigate that. I can go down here to my appliances and then just see, oh, these 2 are offline. I actually know that these are offline because with the red dot here, it even says offline. I know the reasons why they're offline, so I don't have to investigate further, but if normally I would say, oh, those are offline, I need to figure out why and go down that path. So if I go back, I can look at my appliance view here. And again, one of the things like this device, I can't do remote management because I don't have the complete package installed on this one. So I'll go down to one that has my complete package on here. So I'm able to, remote access directly into it. I can just click on it, and it brings me in just as if I type in the URL for it, this is really nice because you don't have to leave your Untangle vulnerable to the outside by making HTTPS traffic available on the external WAN. This does an internal SSL encrypted tunnel to your box, so it doesn't expose anything from the firewall out to the internet. So here I can go in and take a look at it. This one doesn't have any clients behind it, so it's not as interesting. I can look at the traffic on there and so forth. If I go back to my Command Center, I can do things like I say, oh, I want to update the software. So I just click one button and it updates it remotely. I can reboot it remotely. I can go ahead and let's say I purchased a new license. I can go ahead and click the license and add a new license to it. For example, maybe I only had a partial complete, but now I've moved to maybe a public sector complete. I can change that license where it's unlimited. So other things I can do here is, actually start looking at what all my hosts are. This will in turn show me all the hosts and which appliance it's connected to, the internal IPs of those boxes, and I can set quotas for them. I can tell what kind of operating system they're on and so forth. And it makes it really useful to see what's going on, a vast number of networks all in one view. Some of the other things you can do, we talked about, we can do bulk upgrades. Oh, sorry, went a little too quick here. I can find out what versions my boxes are on. If I look at the dashboard, it tells me, okay, this one's on 14.2, this one's on 14.1. I can, sort through those and see which ones I need to look at and maybe see if the upgrade is available for those. Other things I can do a backup. I can do a restore on that problem. And then let's get to alerts really quick. That's a pretty useful area. So in here, I can go into my alerts and I can set various alerts. I have an account set up so it sends out emails. I can set up profiles, like if I want, I'm looking for a specific event, I'm looking for a specific type of alert, or if I want to know if new boxes get online on the particular network. I have various ways I can get notified. I can send an email to myself. I can put webhooks. If you use Slack, you can send messages to your Slack channel in case you have multiple IT people on staff. PagerDuty, you can send messages directly to PagerDuty for your IT staff that's on that. And of course, with time, we'll get more and more ways of getting that to action. Anyways, and then I can put all my information I need and then create a subject of like what kind of event this is and put more information in there. And we give you a ton of examples on here on how to build those events. I can look into aggregate too of what's been happening on all my devices in one view. I can see who logged in. I can see appliances that have been removed, subscriptions that have been added, and so forth. Excuse me. I can also see what alerts have been sent out, things like that. Again, it's probably one of the easiest ways to assign licenses to different boxes. For example, this one doesn't have a license. I could click on it, and then I could go through and look at the licenses that I've recently purchased and assign a license to that. Really easy to do. One of the features that I use the most is policies. Policies allow me, excuse me, I'll get a little dry here. I can pick one of my boxes and make that the master. And what I mean by master is this is the one that I'm going to make the policy changes on it. And I want these policies to propagate to my other boxes. So I'll go ahead and select the master box. And I want to, I can either keep in sync and how often I want to sync it. I probably choose something daily. I'm probably going to want it to synchronize early in the morning. So if there's any problems, I'll be online and I can take a look at it. And then I can just set target devices for that. And then I create a template. So now I have this master box that I can make all my changes if I need to add. For example, web filter, we end up having some site that is miscategorized. I can go ahead and add it to the pass list. And then I can either force a synchronization and immediately pass that out to all the boxes that I have managed, or I can wait for just the daily update, things like that. And that is super useful. When you're dealing with one or two, it's easy just to log into each one. When you start getting to 3 or more boxes, you really need to set that up so it's you're not spending all your day just duplicating settings across multiple boxes. So let's take a look. Dashboard is just a really nice thing just to keep up and have an idea of, let me refresh this so we get the map. Just get a general idea of what's going on with your network. I can look at where my boxes are, and see what's going on in those. I can just hover over them. I can get an idea of, is it online, is it offline, where is it located, and that's by IP address. And then I can look at what my host count is to say, oh, maybe I'm getting close to my license count. May I have to take a look at it, look at hosts that really don't need the protection of the firewall. Maybe I can bypass that and keep my license in line. Other things you can do is, look to see if you're getting a lot of threats across the board, and then take a look at deeper dive into what's going on. I can also look at most recent alerts, like what's been going on in my network. I'm like, oh, I'm seeing like this device connected and it disconnected. So maybe I have to look at my ISP line and see if I can go through and see if there's something going on with the ISP, or maybe I can talk to them about what I can do to get my connection more reliable. The reports are really huge because it kind of gives you a broad range of things that you're going on. Unfortunately, this doesn't have much traffic, but I can see what's been going on my network. It's an aggregate of all my boxes, so if something kind of sticks out, like this box seems to be doing a lot of bandwidth, I might take a look at this box and find out. So it's on this particular box. Of course, I've named them all the same, so it makes it a little difficult. But in a real world, you would have each one named in their particular location. So I would probably take a look at this, find out why this is using this amount of bandwidth. Take a look at that. I can also go, see, what's the trends on my bandwidth? Do I have enough bandwidth? Is there a sudden spike in my bandwidth? Might investigate why I'm having such a spike and where it's at. It's just a good aggregate of everything going on. And then, of course, with Web Filter, you can see what big categories are blocked, which ones are selected, things like that. And then, see if there's anything that really jumps out as far as happening to all your Untangle firewalls and things like that. And of course, all your purchases and so forth happen through here. So, we can go to my account, and I can take a look. Let's see what's my billing information. What are my subscriptions that I'm running onto? What's my most recent invoices that I've had, things I've paid for. One huge part of this that is hard to do on separate untangles, but you can create separate users. So, for example, if I want to create a user, I would invite them and just say, I want to invite this person called Tess, and I don't want to give them any access to my billing or subscription, but I want to give them access to this specific Untangle. So he'll be able to connect to Command Center, use his login, and make any operations he needs to on only that particular Untangle firewall. So this is really useful when you have maybe on location IT staff. You don't want them to have access to all your clients, but you can give them access to their particular one where they're on site and so forth. Or maybe delegate certain boxes to a particular personnel to manage that. So it makes it really useful. It's one of the features that's harder to do on the Untangle itself, but with Command Center and the SSL encrypted tunnel, we're able to provide this where you can have multiple people with different rights to different boxes. It makes it pretty useful. One of the more useful is, you can add, if you have Malwarebytes, you can add your account credentials in there, so you can use that for scanning local host behind your firewalls without having to actually log in directly to that box. You have direct access for them, things like that. So that makes it pretty useful. Let's see, alerts. We covered alerts, various ways to do it. If you go to our knowledge slide, we have examples actually how to build those profiles so you can get alerts directly from Command Center instead of waiting for the Untangle to send that out and email it out. So it's a little more robust system, especially if you have, if you're logged in, you can just have the dashboard open and then you can actually see your alerts. So you don't even have to wait for the email or anything like that. And we went to the appliances, we went through that. It's really nice being able to see your host all in one area. So I look and I can see all my hosts. I can select one. If I can do a port scan to see if maybe there's some unusual port open. I can also do a virus scan if I have a Malwarebytes account and I've put that into Command Center, so I can use that. And I don't even have to log into this host that's behind there. So for some reason, if I don't have access to it, or it's just more convenient to have it in one area, it makes it pretty useful. Policies, kind of briefly went over that. Again, the key is to make one master. I like doing a more master thing because that way I don't have to worry. But if you're only looking to duplicate certain areas, you can, for example, let's go to filter. Like, let's say I only want to keep my web filter. So what I'll do is, again, I'm going to pick a particular box. Unfortunately, I don't have complete setup on, and I will set that one to use my web filter rules and propagate that across. And this is cases where you only want specific apps synchronized. So this is a way to synchronize down to a lower level. So you want to only synchronize certain apps. Cases and points, for example, like OpenVPN is probably something you probably don't want to synchronize just because it's going to be a lot different across different ones. But things like application control, you're probably going to want to do that, and things like that. And let me see what else we got here. Is there any questions? I thought I'd take a break and maybe, is there any questions or anything someone wants demoed that we didn't cover so far?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that are getting answered. Quite a few popping in. Can you have multiple SSL certs on more than one box?
Yes, you can. I can actually show you a way to do that. So, and I'll use Command Center to actually go into that box. So I'll pick a box. I'll go ahead and remote access to that. And let's get this up. So what I'll do is I'll go to my administration page. And if I look at certificates, so I can go ahead and add certificates to this box. And then I can say, well, this one's going to be used for HTTPS, which means, getting to the box and so forth. But maybe I have a different one, a certificate for my mail server. And I'll use that, a different one for that. So there's a way to get multiple certificates installed here. Let's see here. I know somebody was asking about CPU burden and memory seen on the host. If you're talking about the Untangle, there's actually almost no burden on it because this is just, we do SSL tunnel through it, and we actually do it at the command line. If you're talking about scanning on the host, that is, you can set that through your Malwarebytes. And someone was asking about other services like WebRoot and so forth. We are looking into it. It's on our roadmap to add more and more virus scanners. So it's definitely coming very shortly. We'll work on that. Any other areas that people were asking? If not, we'll push on here.
Yeah, I don't see anything right now, so just continue on, I guess.
Yeah, so the aggregate reporting, again, this is a culmination. It's based on a 30-day time frame, and you can get kind of a general what are all my untangles doing, and get it. And really, it's more of a window to look into, like, oh, maybe I need to dive into that. Let's see, we'll go reporting. So here is a whole group. As you can see here, my bandwidth is actually being used less. But if I definitely saw a trend going up, I look into my sites and see if maybe I need to get more bandwidth capacity at particular sites. Is one driving it more than others? We just go from there. And other things, top domains, see where people are going, what categories are being requested, and that can help me dig down into which one. It's really, it's like the 10,000 feet view. It kind of gives you a map of what everyone is doing and how I can, and maybe where I need to focus my more deep down details on, and see which firewall I need to use. And then as we demonstrated, we're going through a few questions. Just taking a quick look here. Someone was asking about white and blacklisting of URLs. The whole thing is that works with the template configurator. So if you go to policies and what you would do is go ahead and log in whichever you set up as your master Untangle, like it's here this one. So I'll go here, and then I would just go here and then do remote access, and then add my whitelist for that particular box. That's the easiest way. Looking at here, it says, regards to remote management, do we have access to the various policies and racks on the remote site? So again, you have to think of it, it's not a direct way of managing each one, but it's a way of setting up group policies based on groups, and you make one Untangle the master of that group. So you have multiple groups, but one of them, you're going to make the changes for specific things like whitelisting, what categories are allowed, and so forth. You want to go through that and get that changed on that Untangle, because those Untangle changes will be propagated to your other ones based on what group. Just looking at a few other questions here. I'm looking, if I'm an MSP, and I was referred to simple restricted mode portals, can I make it available so they can whitelist? Yes, of course. If they have access to their particular Untangle, you assign them which ones they can do management. They can actually log into that particular box and manage those changes directly on that box. So it makes it pretty easy. What you can do also is, if maybe one person in your group has responsibility for managing several Untangles, you give them rights to all of them, but they would just make the changes to the master one, and then you could create a policy that propagates across those. Any other questions? Someone was asking about zero-touch deployment. It is only available for Untangle hardware at this point because we have to know how the box is configured, and we have profiles for each of our hardware. Let's see, and then I think that's about all the questions that I see. Let's next one. I want to go over all the awards that Untangle's won for various areas. We're on the Spiceworks also forums. They're definitely heavy support on that. We have our own forums. It's one of the forums that you'll see actual engineers working on the project answering those questions, which is kind of rare for most software to see something like that. Makes it pretty easy. We have a wide range of members on there, not only the support team, engineers, but we have members of the forum that have been with us for 10, 15 years, so they can definitely answer a lot of questions on there. So it's pretty active. It's surprising not to get your question answered on the forums within 24 hours. Some of our customers that have used it pretty extensively, you can see some of they've been, we have a pretty passionate following, and many of them have been with us for, if not years, decades. So that's always a good thing to see when you have very long-term customers and so forth. Again, if you have more questions, sales is super helpful. They're very knowledgeable on the product. Feel free to give them a call, especially for certain things and what you can do and ways to get what you need. Let's see. And Steve, who is, I'll turn it over to you unless we have more questions.
Yeah, thanks, John. There are definitely a couple more questions that have popped through, but our staff is getting to that as quickly as possible. So pop in those questions, and if we don't get to them, during the webinar, we will follow up with you or email us at sales@untangle.com, and we can definitely help you out. So as far as the Amazon gift card, let's just go through the random number generator and let's see where it falls. And our winner of the $50 Amazon gift card is, actually it's one of our very active participant in the questions, Wayne Barrow. You have won the $50 Amazon gift card. Excellent work.
Congratulations on that win. Very good. We'll probably keep the questions and answers a little open so our staff can catch up. But thank you all for coming, and I'll turn it over to Steve for the wrap up.
Yeah, so pop in those questions into the Q&A box. We'll stay on for another 3 to 5 minutes to try to get those all answered on. But that is the end of our webinar. So if you guys need to go back to work, it's time to log off. And we thank everyone here for joining us today, and we hope to see you next time. All right, that seems to be the end of the questions. Thank you everyone for attending, and this says goodbye.